Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Sort of Success Summit. I'm your host, Vanessa Levin, and joining me today is Al Stewart.
Good morning.
Yay. Let me tell you a little bit about Al for those of you who aren't familiar with him. So, Al Stewart is a graduate of Texas A&M. He has a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. He has taught kindergarten and Head Start. He's also worked for more than one of our education service centers here in Texas. He's also worked for our state regulatory agency, the TEA. He has also taught at the University of Texas at Dallas. He's presented at NACCE and all over the US for many years. And he's also been a Head Start educational specialist. Al is recently retired, but he has come out of retirement just for us here at the summit. So welcome, Al.
Well, thank you for having me again, Vanessa. I appreciate it.
We always enjoy talking to you, Al, because you are a wealth of knowledge.
Well, thank you.
So we're here today to talk about something that seems so trivial, but it's not. The classroom walls, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's think about this back to school time, right? This time of the year, this back to school season, if you will. And so many of us out there put so much time and energy into what goes on the walls in our classrooms before the children even get there. Would you agree?
Yes, quite a bit.
Yes. And this all stems, my belief is that this all stems from very good intentions. We want the classroom to look cute and inviting for our students and our parents. But I really want to caution those of you watching today. I want you to approach this topic with an open mind, because if we think about the classroom as a space for children instead of the teacher space, I think it will really help us set the tone for the entire year in our classrooms. What do you think, Al?
I think that's a very good thought. Something that most teachers hopefully will take into consideration and actually do keep an open mind about this, because it may require a paradigm shift in the way of their thinking as well as what they typically do.
I agree. I like that phrase, paradigm shift. I think so. And yeah, and I think you can do it too, because these things that Al's going to share with us today, these are not, are they difficult, Al?
No, not at all.
They're very easy changes to make. Actually, in fact, I think it will make things even easier, don't you think?
It's definitely less work from the viewpoint of the teacher. It really is. And the other part, it allows the children to have ownership of their space.
I love it. So that brings us to the first question, Al. Let's just start right off the bat with the first question. What should we have on the walls before the kids arrive?
I think that when you're setting up your classroom at the very beginning, something to think about is when you're dividing the classroom into the appropriate centers or play areas, home center, play area, the blocks and art, those kinds of things. We know that in setting those up, you don't always put all of your material in that center. You typically start off the year by putting things that are familiar with approximately 95% of the children that's going to be in your classroom. That way they already know how to interact with it. So from the standpoint of the walls, then this includes the bulletin board as well. So the bulletin board, maybe at the very beginning of the year, is an open space. It's just open, and what we're going to do is we're going to fill that up with photographs and information about the children and their families. Actually, most of us, most children meet the teacher before school starts. And if you're in a childcare setting, they've already gone on a tour of the facility. So you may start off with, this is our classroom family, and starts off with a picture of the teacher or teachers. Usually there are two, depending on your program's requirements there. And it would be the teachers, a picture of them, and maybe with their family, with their name. And then so the rest of it is you ask the parent to please bring a picture of the child's family. Bring that up, and you already have maybe a center strip or a 3x5 or 4x6 card, and you would put Vanessa's family, and you would put that on the bulletin board. So it starts off with creating your classroom family. So that would be the other thing. You're going to also have signs identifying the names of each one of your areas. And there's going to be a sign that's going to be at eye level for adults. And that sign is going to say the name of that center or area. And it will probably have 2 or 3 things that list what children learn in that area. It could be something like this. This is the home center. We know you can't see that, but it has a nice border, and this could definitely be done in color. The other thing on this one, there are too many items listed on here. It's too much. So you would want to choose maybe 3 or 4 key skills or characteristics that children would learn in that particular center.
Now, Al, let me ask you a question. So that's for the adult. We're not going to expect the children to read that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
This is adult. There should be another sign in that center that's at the children's eye level that says what the name of the center is. This one, this is one that you actually have access to in your pre-K pages. Is editable, that you could put your own photograph there. And then it has what children learn there as well. This could be at the adult level, but you could also put one at the children's level. If you're in a classroom for children with special needs, you would have the center name, and you may have a couple of items in a Ziploc baggie that's going to be in that center that children can interact with during their specific playtime. So that would be something that you would want to have as well. There are commercial posters, and this is very large. This is for the Art Center. And the really super thing about it has open-ended questions here.
I like that.
That's for the adults, and it gives the teachers some prompts. But again, this is for the parents as well. And then here it aligns all the domains, how they're addressing particular guidelines and or skills, behaviors, characteristics in that particular center. It's informational, and that's one of the things that would be really, really helpful to have in your classroom for adults to see, not just parents, but other adults who say we're always playing.
Right.
And the importance of what that center does.
Yes.
The other thing that you may think about having in your classroom on the walls would probably be, say, a storyboard, a story area that could be either flannel or magnetic. And that would be where you're going to read and share stories with your kiddos. You can put those things out, and it's something that you're going to have the children interact with throughout the year because it changes.
Right.
You may have a large piece of flannel on a part of the wall, and make sure that it's a lower level for the children with flannel board pieces and cutouts and those kinds of things. That could be shapes, they may be animals, they may be maybe food, all kinds of things that are familiar to the children. The same thing with a magnetic board. You want to have an area also at the children's level that will say, this is my practice writing, or where I write, that they can actually write on it. It could be a whiteboard, it could be newsprint, and that you're going to tear it off and it changes every day, but those kinds of things for the children.
Okay, so let me ask you about, well, first let me say that I encounter a lot of teachers in my daily activities, whether that's in person or online, and I know you have too. And one thing I find is that so many teachers these days, think that, or perhaps have this impression has been given to them that flannel boards and flannel stories are outdated. And I know, look on Al's face. Can we just screenshot that, please? That is so not true, because when we talk about flannel boards, magnetic boards, storyboards, the goal of those things is retelling a story, right?
Well, the major objective is retelling the story in different parts of the story.
Mhm.
And the beauty of it, it also builds language for children. It helps children work together, so you're getting some social skills there. There's the idea of pretend,
Mhm.
because they could make up their own stories
Mhm.
to use those kinds of things. So, oh, absolutely.
Right.
And puppets are another
Mhm.
thing. Is
Yeah.
those seem to be pushed to the back and
Mhm.
not used very often. But by all means,
Right.
flannel board, magnetic boards, storyboards, puppets, all those are
Right.
extremely important. I think young children are missing out, and we're missing out on providing them many opportunities for growth.
Because I don't think you're saying to have an entire flannel story out before the children ever come on the first day.
No,
It's
no,
going to
no,
be meaningful, because you're going to read a story. When you read a story to a child, it becomes meaningful to them,
Right.
right? And now you can extend that story and make it interactive. And a lot of teachers also tell me, Al, that they might be more hesitant to put out the flannel stories and the magnetic stories and so forth, because their children destroy them. What would you say to that?
My first response to that is teach them how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, if you use them appropriately and you use them first, allow them to assist. Let's take an example. The story, The Little Red Hen.
Mm-hmm.
So you read the book the first time. And this is one of the other things is we read a book once and then we put it aside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, read the story the first time, go through the process of reading the story. And then the next time, let the children help you read it. Then let's say you bring out the flannel pieces for it. So you may let them tell the story using the flannel board pieces, or you may let them help you by using the flannel board pieces as you read or tell the story. You may have one of your children that's ready to tell the story and others put it up. And so they're able to put the pieces up and we discuss it. Who are the characters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then that becomes something that we could leave out in a folder or a Ziploc baggie or a box that they can easily open and close and put the material. And then they put it out. So that would be how we would do that.
Yeah. So what you just described was that gradual release model, that I do it, I read the story, I interact with the pieces, then I invite the children to do it with me. So I do, then we do, and then you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that makes perfect sense, because we do a lot of things in early childhood that way. We model it, we invite the kids to help us do it, and then they get to do it. So yeah. So when it comes to kids tearing, ripping, destroying, stomping on, I hear that all the time. It's all about, that just tells us, that's just something that if that's happening, then we take that information and we say, okay, that just tells me that I need to do this again. Because when kids don't just need to hear it once, do they, Al?
No, adults don't. Adults need to hear it more than once as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think trusting kids and giving them the opportunity to grow in such a way you're responsible.
Right.
We can't teach children to be responsible without giving them opportunities to show that.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
This is another way. And ownership of the classroom. I think that's a really big piece of it. Let's say on day one, we want to put something up that the children have created on their own. So what can be simple? What would be easy for them to do? It could be anything from just drawing any kind of picture you want. Just what would you like to? Here's a piece of paper. Here's a sheet of paper. I want you to draw something, and we're going to put their name on it, and that becomes part of the wall fixture, part of the wall,
right.
In one of the spaces. So we're going to put up their artwork. we're going to put up projects that they may do. So it's not just one place. And the idea, for instance, I know one of the things that teachers are early child preschool teachers are really wanting to do is they put up commercial set of colors and shapes.
Right.
All right. So, which is okay that those are there, but let's provide ownership for the kids here. So if we're going to do colors, and we can talk about colors on the very first day, and we may just ask kids at this age, what is your favorite color? So remember the bulletin board we have, but we could also put a space that says my favorite color. We put the child's name on it. Vanessa's favorite color is?
Teal.
Teal. Yes, of course, teal. And so we're going to say, Vanessa, so your color is teal. Well, let's see if we can find the color crayon teal and let Vanessa draw something. And she just may scribble on it. And then we're going to put Vanessa's favorite color is teal. And then we put that up. That's encouraging her. It's motivating her, the other kids. Oh, my favorite color is green. So they're going to make something green and we're going to put it up and say, Susie's favorite color is green.
Absolutely. I
So
love it.
love it. There's your color. And it can stay up for a pretty good while. And the other good part about that is you may be able to add to it.
Yes.
And so it's going to, as the year gets longer, the walls are going to become more used by the children with larger and more meaningful projects. As long as we keep in mind the practicality and the meaningfulness for the children, they understand and they know why that's there.
So I want to recap so far, Al. We've talked about, the question was, what should we have on the walls before the children arrive? So far, we've talked about having some area, whether that's a bulletin board or whatever, for pictures of children and their families, right?
Correct.
Okay. And, if you wanted to put up a nice piece of paper in the background, like we call it butcher paper or whatever, that would be fine, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You could put a little title on it, our families or whatever you want to call it. But then it would be blank when the children walked in, and that's okay, right?
Well, the teacher puts her stuff up there.
Well, yes, that's true. Yes.
So it will have that, and that will hopefully motivate the families to get their stuff.
Gotcha. And then we talked about center signs.
Correct.
And those are primarily for the adults, but you also can have one at the lower level for the children, right?
Correct.
But you can have those up. That's good. We talked about the flannel magnetic board, whatever you want to call that, story retelling area. That usually goes on a flat surface like a wall. That's
correct.
Right. And we talked a little bit about children's work, artwork, projects, whatever. We talked about a place for that. So that area is probably going to be blank before. Right. And that's okay.
Right. And here's something you could put there for day one.
Right. Yes.
So that would be up.
Yes. And I really liked what you said about the color and shape posters. So many of us focus on, I need to get my color and my shape posters, at the store. But really think about, again, going into this with an open mind, what message that sends to children when we're the ones purchasing and putting it up. That just becomes, in my opinion, you let me know, Al, what you think, but it just becomes noise on the wall.
Well, right. And it actually has no meaning to the children. And the children that know their colors, and we have to admit that a number of children do come to the classroom, 4, 5, 3-year-olds that know their color.
Right.
And there may be some that don't. And my years in the classroom with Head Start and with kindergarten, I definitely had the share of children that knew all the colors. And then I had some kid that didn't know any color.
Right.
So those kinds of things.
Right.
And we're building on that. If we also take the attitude of ownership,
yes,
helping the kids know that this is their space and they can help.
Yes. Yeah, they're making it their own instead of the space, the classroom, being the teacher's space. That I think of it like my grandma's house, right? When I would go to my grandma's house, she had lots of little figurines and knickknacks, if you will, and lots of delicate things. And it was always a hands off, don't touch type of a feel, right? That was Grandma's house. And that's how Grandma's house was. And at my house, I knew there were toys everywhere and I could do what I wanted. And,
Right.
it's different. We want our kids to feel like that. We want our kids to have ownership of the space and not feel like they're a visitor in someone else's space. And so some of these ideas that Al's sharing with us are ways to get kids to take ownership. And I think that when kids take ownership of the classroom, that's when we really see things start to go, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, all the light bulbs start
Yeah.
coming on. The kids kind of go, oh, I understand, and they get excited about it.
Right.
So, and I think that's one of the things that we want them
Right.
to do, is to be excited about learning about their space, and they want to come back and be there.
That's what we're going for.
Right.
Exactly. Especially when we talk about going to school, back to school time. It's a new thing for kids, and we want them to be happy and we want them to come back. And one of the ways we can do that, and that's going to set the tone for the whole year, we can give them ownership. So we talked a little bit about kid created versus store bought and which is better and why. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I think that you're only as limited as you allow yourself to be from that perspective. And once you, at the beginning of the year, you're establishing rapport with your kids, you'll know the things that they're interested in and the things that they may have be talented with, and the knowledge that they already bring with them, and building on that. I think that will help. And you're creating a partnership with the children.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start that on day one, is that we're going to this space right here is our bulletin board. And throughout the year, there are going to be a number of different things on here. And so this, right now, we want to get our family, our school family here. So that's going to be, I need you to help me with that. So the kids are going to know that. So when we start talking about something else, how can you allow them or encourage them to be excited and to participate in the development. And an interactive bulletin board at some point in time is also another really fun and exciting thing to do. I've seen a couple of teachers do interactive bulletin boards. So that's another thing to stop and think about.
Yeah, and I think you brought some samples of some children's work there. Would you want to show those?
Well, this was basically kind of looking at it from the idea of art.
Oh, okay.
Is taking the art idea, and the children did their art,
Let me hold one
and
second.
then they created a frame, just a large sheet of construction paper, and then the art was put on there, and then they could decorate the side of it the way they want to. And it would not necessarily always be that way. You don't always have to frame items, but that's just another idea.
Yeah, it's very kid-centered. I mean, here's a piece of blank paper, draw what you would like on the paper, and then we can add it to a piece of construction paper and you can decorate the border. Looks fabulous, right?
Absolutely. So it could, they could do the same thing with the paint if they paint something.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And do we want to show the bulletin board borders?
Okay, here's a really good example. Oops,
I don't know that there's a right way.
a bulletin board border, sentence strip, and the children decorated it. And every kid can do, and talking about variety and uniqueness. And if you're wanting it to be a bulletin board, for instance, if you're doing a unit or you're talking about the different kinds of balls, baseball, soccer ball, football, ... You may ask the kids, draw pictures of as many kinds of balls as they know. That would be your border.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just crayons. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to use this idea in my classroom because it was not just, I used to use, what did we call that earlier? Adding machine tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not as easy to find these days. So I used sentence strip here, but just giving it to the kids and letting them decorate it. And then now you have beautiful bulletin board borders. You can change that out whenever you want. You don't have to go to the teacher's store.
Adding machine tape is extremely versatile. You can do lots of different things with it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one box of it goes a long way.
Yes, it does. I think I remember I bought one adding machine tape roll. It lasted me the whole year. It covered all my bulletin borders, and yeah. And I think that just putting those out, you know, in the beginning of the year, and just saying, you know, we're gonna make this space all about our family. If you want to draw pictures of your family here or whatever, I mean, some kids are just gonna scribble right out, and that's
Correct.
fine too.
That's right, depending on their age for sure. And the developmental level where they are stage.
Yeah.
We got 4 and 5-year-olds that are still scribbling, so that's okay.
Well, that brings us to the next question now. I think that's a good jumping off point. You're talking about the different developmental levels of children. And that brings us to the question of, so should things that go on the wall in an infant toddler classroom versus a preschool versus a pre-K or kindergarten classroom, should those things be different, or should they all look the same?
They're going to, for the most part, they're going to be pretty different. When you start talking about your infants and toddlers, the things are going to be much lower, at a much lower level. And most of the things, they spend a lot of time on the floor. So it's not going to be stuff that's going to be easily torn off the wall, because they're going to grab for everything. So you have to keep that particular concept in mind. Unbreakable mirrors are very, very popular with that age group, because they're on the floor, so they're going to see themselves. Photographs of families, again, that's a really important piece. So you want for that particular age group. And also you want to have real pictures of items that may be familiar with that particular group of children. There's not going to be a whole lot of stuff on the wall, especially unless you just do material that's different colors with different patterns and those kinds of things. And you're going to have a space for parents. On all 3 levels and areas, and I even support that in primary and intermediate grades, there should be a parent wall or parent bulletin board that's dedicated specifically for getting information to parents and putting that up. I know in Head Start programs, they are required to have one. Oftentimes, the lesson plan for the week is posted there. I would encourage that to be a practice at any level. Special projects that are going to come on that they're going to do. So that's something that would be for all 3 levels. The other thing for infants and toddlers, things that are textured, that may have different textures on it that they can't necessarily pull off the wall, but they can touch things that are going to be bumpy, things that are going to be soft, things that are going to be a little bit rough. We don't need to put anything that's prickly and sticky, and you may put different kinds of material so they could rub and feel cotton and wool and flannel and those kinds of things, and being concerned about any types of allergies that children may have. In your preschool classroom, in the classroom, you can do similar kinds of things, especially when you start talking about textures and things that materials that are used to make different things. You may have wood, you may have ice cream spoon, or that's wooden, or a tongue depressor, or an art crescent that's wood, and you may have a plastic spoon, you may have aluminum foil piece of, you may have cardboard. So you can have different things that are different made out of different things, and that's something you would want the kids to do. Start labeling, and when I'm saying labeling for the children, all of your centers are going to be labeled, but then you can also start labeling things for children that's meaningful, that you don't just go around putting wall and clock and chair and rug and ceiling and door. The creator of labeling indicated that was not the purpose of it, that any labels that were put up were functional and they had meaning to the children. So you would want to do that. And you start looking at your word walls, your picture word walls for this age group. And if it's going to pretty much be categorical, it's going to be a picture word wall with, I would say maybe at the beginning of the year, a picture word wall of environmental print.
Mhm.
And that would be encouraging because then children can also bring things to put on that picture word wall, and that becomes meaningful for them. So Susie may bring an M&M packet that somebody had on, and one kid may bring the panel from a cereal box that they had, Cheerios or Frosted Flakes or Wheaties or whatever they're eating, macaroni and cheese box, those kinds of things. So that becomes meaningful for the children as well. That's going to be a picture word wall is something that you may have two going on at the same time, and you would maybe rotate and add to that. It's going to be connected to whatever you may be studying for that particular week.
So I'm hearing a common theme throughout what you're talking about as far as the different age levels go and what goes on the walls. So you've talked about maybe some in infant toddler things being definitely down at their level because they're going to be very low to the ground, either crawling or toddling around. Very low to the ground, very friendly because they're going to touch and try to take it off. That's their nature. That's normal. Because I think one of our first instincts is if we have kids like in our home, right? Like when my nephew goes to visit my mother's house, his grandmother, she takes all the knickknacks and puts them up. She takes all the cars, she puts them up. Because that's her home, and we don't want him to get hurt. But at school, we want children to touch. We want them to interact. We don't want to put things up too high because then they can't. It's not meaningful to them anymore, right, Al?
Right.
Yeah. So we want it at their level. We want it to be child friendly. Unbreakable mirrors and textured things and pictures of their families. Maybe you could put those all on a poster board and laminate them.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, make it so that it's child friendly. And then we talked a little bit about, again, making it meaningful in that preschool classroom, having kids bring things in to put on an environmental print wall and so forth. But one thing I noticed that you didn't add in there was the color and shape posters. They're not they're not present in any of those situations. So they're not necessary. Would you agree?
Not at that point. And there's something, if you're looking at color and shapes, again, that's one of those things that you can actually allow the children to help create and develop that in the classroom itself.
Absolutely.
So that's something that could be done. If, for instance, we're going to do color, I think one of the easiest ways we can do color posters, or we could do a color sheet and take a sheet of newsprint, chalk tablet, and we can write the word, or allow one of the children to write the word red, or we can do half a sheet. And so let's bring in old catalogs. They actually do have Sears and JCPenney and Home Depot. They have catalogs, flyers from the grocery store. And so let the kids cut out all kinds of things that are red. Mm-hmm. And they glue those on there, and that becomes our red poster. Yeah. We can do the same thing with other colors. And that way it's functional, it's meaningful for the children, and the chances of them being able to rapidly identify their colors is going to be much better because there's lots of repetition there.
I love it. So one thing we haven't talked about, well, maybe a little bit, but what about at the preschool level? We talked about it at the infant toddler too, pictures of the children. So what are some ways we can utilize? We talked about the family board, but there are other ways to utilize pictures of the children's faces.
Okay. First of all, make sure at your program, your school district has the policy in place that it's okay, and parents do give permission to allow their children's photographs to be taken or for the children to be video taped for whatever purposes. But that usually happens at the very beginning of the school year. So you want that to take place. Fun kind of things to do with that's both language and literacy. And then with today's technology, with digital cameras, the sky's the limit. Mm-hmm. For instance, you can do positional concepts. Mm-hmm. So you may have a a cardboard box. We're just going to say a cardboard box. So you're going to take a picture of Vanessa in the box. So you put Vanessa is in the box. You're going to take a picture of Al behind the box. You're going to take a picture of Shirley under the box. You're going to take a picture of Susie on the side of the box or in front of the box. So you're teaching positional concepts. It's meaningful. You can make all these pictures. You can put them up on a wall, on your bulletin board, whatever. And once you're done, you take all those, you put them together, and you have our positional concept book. So do the same thing with jack-o'-lantern. You know, the jack-o'-lantern, or Susie is holding the jack-o'-lantern. Michael is holding the jack-o'-lantern. Susie, the jack-o'-lantern is on Michael's head, you know, doing fun things with them.
Right.
So standing behind the Christmas tree, in front of the Christmas tree. So you can do those kinds of things.
Right.
My favorite, we talk about my favorite color, we talk about my favorite food, but why not even have a what we don't like? Vanessa doesn't like to eat
raw carrots.
Raw carrots. Al does not like to eat radishes. You know, Susie does not like spaghetti. I know that sounds bizarre, but that could be. And that becomes, again, another concept. And the children, especially in your pre-K classrooms, those children that are ready and start putting those sentences and those words together to actually start reading, it's going to encourage and promote that. More so, Michael does not like to eat. So they know does not like to eat is the phrase there. It's going to be by everybody's. Susie or Michael's name is there. And what it is they don't like to eat is at the end.
Yeah.
So that becomes a real easy thing to do.
What about pairing their names and their pictures? Like, I know I always had name cards or name picture cards of my children all around the room. Do you see that playing a role in the things that we put on our walls or around the room in different areas?
Oh, absolutely. The children's name in your pre-K classrooms, in your Head Start classrooms, and in your kindergarten classrooms, and maybe even in your first grade classrooms, the children's names should be in at least 5 to 7 places.
Okay.
That they're going to be there. It should be on their home school chart when they walk in. Vanessa's at home. At home, she gets her card and she puts it on the Vanessa's at school. It's going to be on your leader's chart. Everybody has a leader who's going to be the line leader, who turns off the light, who closes the door, who are your cleanup captains, those kinds of things.
So helpers.
Yeah, the helpers chart. So then it's going to be wherever they keep their personal items, in their cubby or on their locker.
Yes.
So the name's going to be there. It's going to be on the hook where they hang their coat or their cap. So that's going to be there. If you have children, you divide your children into heterogeneous groupings. So this is our red group. This is our blue group. This is our yellow group. Their names are going to be on there. I encourage teachers to have a chart. If you have 4-year-olds, you're going to have 4-year-olds that turn 5. So we have 4-year-olds, and everybody's name is on the 4-year-old. Their name card is there. And so believe me, how many people are 4? So we have 26 that are 4. Well, it's Vanessa's birthday.
Right.
Well, she's 5. She does not go on the 4-year-old chart anymore. Right next to it is the 5-year-old chart. So Vanessa will remind you, I'm 5 now, so my name goes here. So how many people are 5? Well, 1. Who is it? Vanessa.
Right.
So we've got the 4 and 5. If you're in a mixed age group where you have 4, 5, and 6s, or 3, 4, and 5s, it becomes even more meaningful to those children to know how to use that. And
then pairing that name, the written name, with the child's picture, right, Al, when you're doing these? Yes.
You can do the pictures, and eventually you're going to get away from the pictures. There are some programs that use symbols to represent children's names, and that's perfectly meaningful as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
When I taught kindergarten back in the older days, I didn't know about using symbols, but my kids learned their first names. That was really important. Excuse me. And then they had to learn their last names. So when their names were on a table, kidney shaped table, when they walked in, they would go find their name and they would go put it on the chalk ledge.
Sure.
And that was they learned how to do that really well. So that was the first name. Then they learned how to find their last name, then both names together. So that was identifying names.
Yeah, and it's a great way to incorporate a daily routine into your classroom that's meaningful to the children and incorporates their name, and it's just very easy to do that. So I think we've talked about things that we should have on the walls. We talked a little bit about kid created versus store-bought decorations, which is better and why. And we talked about what could be or should be on the walls at the different age levels. Before we move on to the last question, Al, is there anything else you wanted to show us? I know you have a lot of resources over here. Is there anything you wanted to show us? Do you have those file folders there?
Oh, those are magnetic stories.
Oh, okay.
Those are magnetic stories. But you mentioned one thing that I failed to address that should be on the very first day at the beginning of the year is the daily routine. The daily routine, if you use a pocket chart or even if you just have it listed, is not up when the children first walk in.
Okay.
Because what we want to do is we want to gradually work them into that, because the daily routine, the items sequence is not going to change, but the amount of time is going to change, because at the beginning of the year, there's going to be a little bit more time at center time as opposed to when the children really get to the routine. But you're going to have these pieces that you're going to put in a pocket chart, or you're going to have them that you're putting them either vertically or horizontal. I'm sorry. But you talk about those as you put them up.
Right.
Okay, this is the first thing we do, boys and girls, is we have our circle time. So this is our greeting circle time. That's what this symbol is, and that's what this says. And we talk about what we're going to do. And then the next thing we're going to do, and the next thing we're going to do, and the next thing we're going to do. And you review that and you let them know. And then at the end of the day, you review that. Even on day one, you talk about it. You take that down, and then after they leave, and then you come back and you put it back up. Eventually, within about a week or two, it's going to stay up because now the children know what the routine is. It's a really good way, and it's going to help them know, what are we doing now? What are we going to do next? What did we do before we did this? So we're getting our sequence and our vocabulary building there as well.
So wonderful. So a routine of some sort. You don't have to have it up before the kids come, but it's ready for you to start implementing with them right away.
Correct. Now, for your infants and toddlers, your routine is kind of guided by them. You have bigger chunks that are posted because you don't know. You know, in pre-K, we're going to go wash our hands and go to the restroom. That doesn't mean children are not going to need to go to the restroom at other times.
Right.
We all know that. But for the infants and toddlers, especially if they're not potty trained, you're changing diapers all day.
Right.
So that's built into, and their eating schedule may be a little bit different as well. So that routine is posted, and both routines are put up on the parent bulletin board.
In addition to.
Exactly. That way the parents will know what
your schedule is. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I love it. So in the infant and toddler class, and I'm asking mostly for my own benefit here, would you have one that you would actually reference with the children? You would have.
No, you don't necessarily reference it with the children. You can say it's time we're going to go outside now, or we're going to go, it's time for us to go eat lunch, or those kinds of, you reference it, but that's not, they're not getting, especially the infants and maybe the toddlers, you can say that, especially your twos and older twos and threes. Yeah, this means we're going to go outside, so let's go outside.
Right,
It's
right.
time to go out.
Right. I think we've done a pretty good job so far, Al. Let's jump into the last question here.
The hard one.
The hard one. And again, I want us to keep an open mind, but so many teachers feel pressure to have a cute classroom, or they feel pressure to put things on the walls that before the kids come in. And sometimes this pressure comes from administration. So what would you say to the administrators watching today when it comes to the classroom walls?
There are two parts that two things that I think about from that perspective. Number one is, does the administrator trust their teachers?
Big one.
So there has to be a certain amount and level of trust and understanding. I've hired Vanessa as the pre-K teacher. She went through the interview process. Obviously, I chose her over other candidates. So that means she brings some certain skills to the table or to the classroom that I really see and want. So I really need to trust my teachers. The other part of that is teachers really need to feel comfortable enough to be able to sit down and say, allow me to explain to you why the classroom looks this way.
Right.
Especially if the administrator asks the teacher, explain to me why you don't have anything on the wall here, over here. Well, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm going to do that. So there's that idea from the standpoint of when the administrator asks the question, that the teacher does not, number one, feel like they're put on the spot or they're being criticized.
Right.
The administrator could be asking in all seriousness, I'm not understanding why there's nothing here, or there's not anything on your bulletin board. Look upon that as an opportunity to share your philosophy and what's going on with your rationale and your reasoning for doing that. And letting the administrator know, because they're not. It could be a director, assistant director, supervisor, anyway. So trust is the first thing that's important, and that goes both ways. And the teacher needs to, if they're thinking about doing something differently than they've done before, is run it by the principal, administrator, and say, I think this is what I'm going to do this year. There's shared control. If we, and truly having shared control in the classroom between the adults and the children, that should include how the room is set up as well. And those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think that if you're approached by an administrator about your choices of things you put on the walls, I would see that as a positive opportunity. And I might say something like, I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah. Instead
of being defensive right off the bat, because I see that when someone questions our teaching strategies or methods, that's our first line of defense, is to work from that frontal lobe and go for the, and get defensive. And instead, if we view it as an opportunity and say, I'm so glad you asked, and I'm thinking more this year about the ownership of the classroom and how I'd like to have the children take ownership. And so this is the way I'm approaching it this year. What do you think about that? And then inviting a dialogue instead of just saying, Al Stewart said.
Well, don't tell him I said. No, but that's a great approach and a great idea. And for many years, as a consultant, when I have had teachers make comments about administrators questioning and approaching, my response has always been, it really has been, take that as an opportunity to give them more information, increase their knowledge base about why. And the other part, as an administrator, my thinking is, if you as a teacher really can't tell me why you're doing what you're doing, then you need to question why you're doing it. The reason Well, Al, why are you doing this? Well, I'm doing it because Vanessa's doing it.
Right.
Well, no, that's not good enough.
Right.
That should not be the reason. So the
Right.
reason really has to be you're looking at true child development. Children are coming first,
Yes.
and there you're providing as many opportunities for those children to grow and develop as a whole child in all aspects of it. And the classroom is theirs. It's more theirs than it is ours when we stop and think about it, and helping teach responsibility and taking on that ownership.
I love it. I think this was a great session. And I just want to reiterate to all of you out there watching today that the walls of your classroom, before the kids come in, they don't reflect you as a teacher. We want the walls to reflect the children. So if we approach it from that standpoint, then we don't have to worry so much. This information just frees us up to focus on other things that are more important, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I would think of it like that. And also, when you're inviting the kids to contribute to what goes on the walls, that works into your lessons as well. So now you have more things that you can do that you don't have to to plan for, right? Because these are things that you're going to be doing with them. They kind of help fill in those lesson plans in the beginning of the year as well. Yeah. So I think that we have accomplished our goal today. What do you think, Al?
I think we've covered a lot. And what the last thing that I want to say to you guys is think about it, make a plan on how you want to approach it and how you want to do it, and give it a try. Now, giving it a try does not mean trying 1 week.
Right.
So give it a real, honest, truthful try, and I think you will be amazed and astounded on how the children respond to this.
Yes.
And how your room becomes more, the children see it, the things are more meaningful, it's more pragmatic, and it actually does help your kids grow and develop.
I love it. I want to thank you so much to Al Stewart for joining us here today, and to all of you who tuned in. Thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
I'd like to thank our guest Al Stewart again for joining us today, and thank all of you for watching. If you'd like to spend a little more time with the ideas and suggestions that we discussed here in this session, or any of the others, don't forget you can bring the sessions home with you along with some terrific bonuses. So just click on the link below the video, and remember that prices go up the day after the conference ends. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin. Bye.